standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to your afternoon safari here in the northeast corner of magnificent South Africa. We are in the Greater Kruger National Park. Of course, South Africa is the world's most beautiful country, from Cape Town, where all the hipsters live, all the way up to Musina on the border of Great Zimbabwe. It is the most wonderful country. And if you have not had the pleasure of coming to visit us, I do hope that one day you will be able to enjoy the wonders of beautiful South Africa. And you see how I nearly said magnificent there twice, but then I changed myself and said beautiful, Viam, and I said beautiful. That was very clever of me. It wasn't, of course. My name is James Henry. On camera today is Viam. Hello, Viam. There we go. Viam is slightly more cheerful than he was this morning, but that is a very marginal state of affairs. You are on a very live safari, and we're driving through Arathusa at the moment. That is about 850 hectares of land that we traverse on the western edge of our traversing, and it in turn is on the western edge of the northern Sabi Sand, a collection of private game reserves tacked on to the Kruger National Park. You're most welcome. Please do talk to us over the next 3 hours. Hashtag Safari Live or questions at wildearth.tv if you're on the email. On the other vehicle, we have two vehicles out today. Byron, the Portugal Serrao, is on his way to Cheetah Plains. He is going to the east. He is from the south of Johannesburg. Don't hold that against him. And he is being filmed by the ultimately elegant figure of Brian Joubert. In the final control, Kirsten McLennan-Smith with her flaming red hair and being ably assisted by Louise Pavid and her large guns. We are hopefully going to see, well, we don't know what's around at the moment, so there were no cats seen this morning, so we're in kind of the dark, or, if you like, we're in a state of excited mystery, because we don't know what's going to be around the next corner. It's a very balmy day. I think it's about 25 degrees Celsius, which puts us at about 27 degrees Celsius, which puts us at 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not bad for midwinter, I don't think. And it's been a lovely, lovely winter's day here. Cold in the morning, deep blue winter skies, and I think we're in for a lovely afternoon. Whether that lovely afternoon will include any animals, well, if current form has anything to do with it, it won't. But with any luck, our luck is about to change. Ah, it is. Our luck has changed already, Viam. Do you see what I see? It is a hippopotamus, everyone. A hippopotamus in Red Dam. That is this quarry that we are sitting at now, here at Arathusa. And it is some of the last remaining water. And hippopotami like this one here, of course, are wandering between the last remaining bits of water. Normally young bulls, suboptimal habitat, and they're looking for nice places to lie up while the water is sort of diminished. They will eventually, I suppose, have to head down towards the rivers, the Sand River to the south, and which will probably flow. I wonder if it is still flowing, actually. There'll be some pools left there, and then more permanent water, the Sabi River to the south of that. The hippos really are having a very tough time, and if you don't know about it, we had a severe drought during the summer. We're into the dry season now, and, you know, so it means it doesn't normally rain at this time of the year, but because we've had such a very bad drought during the wet season, there really isn't anything like the standing water that there would be at this time of the year. You can feel, perhaps, if you close your eyes and just imagine it and take a deep breath in. See if you can feel that really pleasant northwesterly breeze. It's coming straight over the top of that hippo, touching us slightly with the smell of the standing water. It's not an unpleasant smell at all. It's a very bush smell. Infused, of course, with the subtle scent of buffalo dung. And it is completely silent, but for that little bit of wind. Very few birds calling, the odd fly flying about my head. But Otherwise, it's all rather quiet and rather peaceful and contemplative, I must say. A day like this, in the middle of the dry season, as the water's starting to dry up, it's definitely time for contemplation. This chap is definitely contemplating. Either that or he's asleep. What do you think, Viam? I'm talking about the hippopotamus, not the bird. The bird is, very well spotted there. That is a grey go-away bird, everybody, that Viam didn't want to tell me about. He chose instead to embarrass me by pointing the camera of it while I spoke about the hippo. Viam, we're going to have to do something about your attitude, I think. He's nodding. I wish you could see the impressive beard on his face. Before he goes on leave, we're definitely going to have to show it to you, because it really is. It's quite something. He looks like a sort of hobbit/yeti at the moment. I think the hippopotamus woke up at my description of Viam as a yeti. He's obviously afraid of yetis. Hello, TB Stain. A nice question from you, and it's an interesting one. You say, is it true that hippopotami have got pink milk? The answer is negative. They do not have pink milk. They do not have strawberry milkshakes for their little babies to drink. What they do have is a pink substance that comes out of the skin that makes their skin pink, and sometimes it can mix with the milk when the youngsters are suckling. But the milk is absolutely white. And I'm just looking quickly in a book that I have, simply because I think in this book it explained to me exactly how that works. But I don't see that at the moment. I'll keep having a check around and see if I can't find any sort of indication for why that, because it's a common thought and it's a common question. And it's a common, I think, misconception by many guides around the place. I'm sure they tell their guides that hippos have pink milk, and I don't think they do. In fact, I'm 900% sure that they don't. So I'll figure that one out, and I'll get back to you, TV Stain. Alrighty. Shall we move on from this hippopotamus, Viam? When the camera comes off the animal for the 4th time, that's Viam saying, press on, let's find something else. He does. Somewhat? Something with teeth. That thing's got teeth. Nasty ones. He looks rather forlorn there, I must say. Oh well. He'll be okay, we hope. All right, let's head across to Byron Sarau and find out what has happening in the east at the Singapore noodle stand that is Cheetah Plains.
Good afternoon, everybody. Great to have you with us. James, thank you very much for that introduction. My name is Byron, and with me on camera this afternoon, we have Brian and the Thumb. Afternoon, Brian. Yes, James, I have just arrived on Cheetah Pools, and Brian and I are exploring this area a little bit. It's only my 2nd time down here. So we are in search of any wildlife this afternoon. This morning, we were very fortunate. We had a lot of elephant activity around and some great sightings of young elephant. But we would like to see some cats this afternoon. So who knows, we will try. James was mocking me about being from the south of Johannesburg, but James doesn't have too much room to talk. He speaks as if he hails from the land of the English and from Cambridge perhaps, but he is just from Johannesburg, a little bit further north of where I am from. So I think we should mock James a little bit too. So while Brian and I are driving through here, we're scanning very carefully, having a look for any sign of wildlife that may have passed through here during the course of the day. Having a look if there's any water down. There's a little water hole or dam that is very, very dry at the moment. No water in there. You find in summer it probably fills up quite nicely with rainwater. You get a lot of animals will come down and drink in this area. As it starts to dry up, you get this beautiful mud wallow. And a lot of animals like elephant, rhino, buffalo, all those animals would come and wallow in the mud. It helps protect their skin, helps cool them down. You get warthog, a lot of animals. Oh, hang on, there we go. Giraffe. Have a look at this, everybody. Off to the right. Yay. Beautiful giraffe. A beautiful big male giraffe. Just enjoying a bit of the shade, and it looks like he is browsing off of that tree, which looks like it is a tamboti tree, which is very interesting. And I'll tell you why I find it interesting is because a tamboti tree is poisonous for us, but you do get other animals feeding on them, like the giraffe we can see. Black rhino and kudu are some of the others which will feed on it. It's very interesting. It's a young tamboti tree. It's so nice to see this beautiful big male giraffe. You can see it does seem a little bit darker. See the beautiful pattern over his body. He is quite dark, and occasionally some of the older males or older giraffe do tend to become a bit darker. Their coloration does darken, but also, just like our skin color all varies, the same happens with giraffe. Some giraffe are just genetically darker than others. If he sticks his head out again, I'd like to point out something very interesting. So, I mean, it's quite easy to tell from this angle that it is a male. If you look a little bit further down, you can see the male genitalia, but sometimes that is not clear. And another way to tell if it is a male or female, just from a distance, if he sticks his head out again, I will show you and point it out. But you can see the horns or the ossicles just sticking out a little bit there. There we go, look at that. There you can see them. So those horns, or what are known as ossicles, the bone structure on the top of the head, they are completely bald. Do you see that? The males, their horns are very thick and they're bald on top. And the females have very thin horns with little black tufts on top. Their hair actually covers that horn, and you have these little black tufts. So if you just see the head of a giraffe, you can tell whether it is male or female very easily. He's really buried his head inside that tamboti tree. This is nice. I haven't seen giraffe for a few days. Nice surprise. Don't forget to send us your questions at #SafariLive on Twitter, or questions at wildearth.tv. If you are emailing us questions. Have a look at the calcification around the male's head. Look on the back, you can see those two very prominent bumps, and on the forehead you can also see a very prominent bump, and that is all caused by calcification, a build-up of bone around the skull, and that is also a sign of age. This is an old giraffe, an old male, but he is still in very good condition. Very big. And also the reason for a lot of that calcification buildup is when these males get a bit older, they do fight quite regularly with each other, is what is known as necking. They'll stand next to one another and swing their necks around and hit each other with their heads. The reason for that is then for dominance and to try to chase the other male off so that that male may mate with the females. The long legs of a giraffe. See that tail swishing about, and that's just to try and keep away some of the flies and ticks which do sit on these animals. The wind has picked up quite a bit this afternoon. Brian and I fear there may be a front of sorts coming in, which could be interesting over the next few days. He seems to be a little camera shy, this giraffe. It's a beautiful afternoon though. Despite the wind, the temperature is still very, very warm, and it's been a great day. This morning was much warmer than it was the previous 2 mornings. So we weren't as cold as we were the other 2 mornings. But the days, I mean, these afternoons, winter afternoons are beautiful. Really, really wonderful. Well, I think we've had a lovely view of this giraffe. He is really intent on feeding there for quite some time. Why don't we carry on and see what else we can find? As I mentioned, we're on Cheetah Plains this afternoon. So we are going to head towards those plains. They've got beautiful clearings. There's often a lot of animal activity around there. While I head into that area, cross over to James for an update.
Tell me when she links. What? Are we really live?
Yes.
Hello everybody. That came faster than I thought. I must confess that I believe Byron won that little round of banter with his comment about my thinking I'm from Cambridge but actually being from Johannesburg. I don't really think that, of course, but it was very clever of him. Ha 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 ha. Now, this tree, everyone, is a jackalberry tree, and what I wanted to show you about it, there's a big hole back here, and one doesn't sort of stick one's hand in such holes in case there is a snook or snake having a snooze for the winter therein. I don't see any here. But this is the kind of tree, with a hole such as the one it has here, that a ground hornbill would like to sleep in. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen a ground hornbill. And ground hornbill, large turkey-like black bird with the red wattles about the throat. They need trees like this with enormous holes in the back, which I can't really show you, but there's an entrance like this to the hole. And there are it's the kind of tree that a ground hornbill can go into, but because trees like this seem to be fewer and further between, especially outside of protected areas, you find that the ground hornbills lack nesting sites that they used to once have. And it is one of the things that I think mistakenly conservationists are saying is one of the problems with having so many elephants around, is that trees like this are being knocked down. But in actual fact, if we had... Whoops. In actual fact, if we had, I think I may have just pulled something there. Ooh, that's really painful. If we, let me just take a minute. I think I injured myself yesterday. Right, there we are. Okay. In actual fact, if we had more protected areas outside of where elephants existed, I think you'd find that ground hornbills would survive just fine. Wim, there's a quite startling pain in between my arm and my chest, and I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be able to continue.
All right, do you want to do some surgery?
Would you kindly cut my left arm off? I think it would be less painful.
Yeah.
I wish I was joking. We're going to go back to Byron briefly. Let me just sort myself out here.
So, James, I don't know what he's got himself into, but he's trying to climb trees again, it sounds like it. And you would have thought after yesterday's incident, he would have learned his lesson. That's James for you. Still heading towards the clearings and the plains. We've just passed a small herd of, or group of buffalo, but they were very deep into the bush. So Diva, it's your first time watching. Welcome to Safari Live. Great to have you with us. And it really is fantastic to be able to take everyone from all over the world who can log on and join us and take them through this wilderness that we are in at the moment. And what you see is completely live, which is very exciting. So there are no cuts, there's whatever happens, happens. If we make a mistake, you see it live. I understand you would like to see some hyena. We will definitely try and find some. We have got a hyena den on Juma at the moment, and they do move around, and every now and then we are lucky and we bump into them. So welcome, great to have you with us. This is only my first time on only my second time on cheetah plains. So I'm still learning my way around a little bit, which is fun, it's exciting, it's exploring. I'm exploring this with you at the same time. Don't really know where I am at the moment, but that's the fun thing about this. Why don't we turn left here? A lot of elephant tracks around here. So Corin from London has asked, what is the species that is of grass which is known as elephant grass? Now Corin, I'm not too sure. Well, there's that wind again that I was mentioning earlier. Beautiful water holes, very full at the moment. I don't see any sign of animals just yet. Let's just scan these bushes around here. And so, Corin, getting back to your question about the elephant grass, I'm not too sure of a common name of grass known as elephant grass. And one of the things about common names or colloquial names of trees or plant or grass material is that occasionally it may differ in certain areas. For example, we have a buffalo thorn tree, and in some areas it's known as a hakkensteek or a blinkblaar waggebikkie, which are Afrikaans or Dutch names. So it's the same tree with many different local names. Usually we try and refer to a scientific name, and that scientific name can't be changed. So it's easier to identify a species of tree or grass if we use a scientific name. I'm not too sure about elephant grass. Maybe James might have an answer for you a little bit later about that. He may have heard about it in his travels. I have not, so I'm not too sure about that one. Let's move on from this waterhole. Doesn't seem to be any activity here just yet. While I'm driving, also just having a close look for any tracks around this area, maybe something that's come to the waterhole to drink, any predators, for example. As I said, there's been a lot of elephant activity there today. You can see all their tracks around, but I don't see any sign of predators just yet. Hornbill just took off right next to us. Beautiful hornbill, yellow-billed hornbill with that long beak, but just flew off. It was sitting right next to the road. We didn't see it. It was perched in a tree. So Julia from Houston, you have asked us an interesting question. You have asked if ground hornbills close their nests like the other hornbill species do. So let me just quickly explain what the other hornbills do first. So the smaller hornbill species, the yellow-billed hornbill, red-billed hornbill, and the grey hornbill, what they do is they find a very prominent tree, quite a large tree. Let me see, there's one up ahead here. Let me see if I can find a little hole for you and explain it a bit better. This is a beautiful torchwood just next to us. So what would happen is, and let me get off here quickly and just show you. It's easier to explain while I'm showing you something. You still hear me there? You're all good? So if you have a look at the stem, this beautiful stem of this tree, you've got little gaps in this stem. Now this is not a typical tree they would use. They would probably use something like a marula tree where there are little holes that they can get into. But what they do, for example, is they would find a hole, they would, the female would go inside, and what she does is she actually plucks her feathers. And those feathers she then uses as a nest. She will stay inside that hole. The male will come and fill that hole with mud, and he closes it up and he builds a little wall at the entrance, and he leaves a very thin slit. Now what happens then is with that thin slit, the male will constantly fetch food for the female, and he returns to that nest every day, feeding the female through that little hole while she lays the eggs and incubates the eggs inside there. Once the chicks are grown up and able to fly out of the nest, the female's feathers have then grown back, and she breaks through that entrance and they all fly out together, which is incredible. So they are very reliant on that male for food, and because if not, or if he doesn't feed them, then they will obviously die. So it's an incredible relationship between that male, that female, and those chicks. The ground hornbills, however, are much, much larger. They are very, very big birds. They do nest in trees, though, but they build a proper nest that they will sit on. They do not nest the same way as those smaller hornbills do. So thank you for that question. I hope I've answered it correctly for you, or nicely for you, that you understand it a bit better. But it's an incredible bird. I mean, those hornbills, for them to have so much trust for that male, and for that male to constantly come back and feed the female, it's an incredible relationship. We are going to continue towards the plains of Cheetah Plains. While I do that, head back to James for an update.
Now, everybody, the reason I'm up this termite mound, of course, is because I thought that this bush, from where you're sitting now, looked rather leopardish. Clearly it is not a leopard, but it is an unusual species. It's called a dwarf bush cherry, and I believe it to be the first example of the tree that I found here. I'm now going to run down the termite mound back towards the car. You won't be able to hear me in the interim, but I'll show you the tree when I get there. Here we go. Can you hear me now, Viam? Right, there we are. Now, the dwarf bush cherry produces a little fruit that unfortunately doesn't taste anything like its name suggests it should, but there it is. And it's one of the few plants here, I guess, that has remained green so far over the winter, and I think it is an evergreen. That is the dwarf bush cherry, Merua parvifolia. Now, Byron, I believe, was talking to you about elephant grass, or somebody asked him a question about elephant grass. And elephant grass reminded me of a song by Johnny Clegg, in which he talks about the elephant grass. I've lost my earpiece there. There we are. Found it. Don't worry, everybody. Calm down. And I'm not sure. I think there are a number of different species of grass that are known as elephant grass, and one of them is Cymbopogon excavatus, or one of the Cymbopogon species, and sometimes some of the thatching grass species. But Kirsten reckons she's looked up, and it's probably something called Pennisetum. What was it? Pennisetum what? Purpurum. Pennisetum purpurum. Anyway, it's very long, kind of thatching grass, and it's called elephant grass because it's so very tall that you can't actually see through it. It'll be taller than a man. And I remember often when we were children, we used to go riding in the mountains in August, always in August, when the thatching grass was long and gold with a bit of red in it. And we'd go galloping along these mountain paths with the grass above our heads. And it was the most wonderful experience. And every time I hear the term elephant grass, I remember those incredible experiences of riding through the wilderness in the mountains on horseback. Which is utterly irrelevant to our safari, but I thought I would tell you anyway. We're heading towards the Arathusa Dam now, hoping to find some thirsty animals coming down to drink. I've heard nothing on the radio yet as to anything going on this reserve. I think all the guests are just getting mobile, and if you ever come out to this place, and I think many of you have been out to, if not Arathusa, certainly some of the camps close by here, 3:30 or 3 o'clock you make your way onto the deck. These glorious winter afternoons, and you have tea. This is only about an hour after you've had lunch, of course. A nice fat slice of delicious chocolate cake, followed by a couple of cups of tea and maybe a glass of water, and then you head out to go and see what the wonders of the wilderness have to give you. Yes, I can see them. Thank you so much, Fiam. There are some warthogs, everybody. The second lot of warthogs we've seen today. The first lot ran away. These guys are much more confiding. Looks like a young sow. I wish you could hear them. I don't think, with the wind blowing, I don't think you're going to be able to hear them, but they're making this amazing crunching sound as they pull the roots of these plants out of the ground. So, if you've watched the other animals grazing, you've watched the zebra grazing and the impala, and you can see, and the buffalo especially, they all eat a different piece of the grass plant. Longest would be the buffalo. They wrap their tongues around the grass and then pull it out, which always makes my, that horrible feeling you get in kind of just underneath yourself when it's the feeling of scraping nails across blackboards, etc., etc. And the thought of wrapping my tongue around grass and pulling gives me that horrible feeling. Anyway, they eat the longest grass, and then we get to the zebra, which eats slightly shorter grass than them, and then say the wildebeest or the impala will eat even shorter grass than that, and then you get down to these fellows, the warthogs, and you can see the snout snuffling along at ground level and actually pulling the roots of the grass plant out and eating those. And while that may seem destructive, well, I suppose it probably is if you happen to be the individual grass plant, remember that everything out here, from the warthog to the elephant to the flea beetle to the black monkey thorn and the combretum tree here, and every grass species has evolved to fill all the niches that are available here. And so that warthog is playing a very crucial role, probably clearing space for other plants to grow, killing off the dead stuff and the moribund plants. But you can see right there at ground level, that cartilaginous snout. It's a lovely word, don't you think, Viam? Cartilaginous.
I wasn't listening.
Of course, sorry. I forgot. Viam's not listening to me today. Cartilaginous, of course, means a big flat disc in front of the nose that is made of cartilage that you can see there it's using to dig. See, he is actually listening to me. He's just pretending not to. And again, you can see those bottom tusks there, so sharp. You do not want to be set upon by those things. Difficult to describe a warthog as elegant, I must say, but she is a relatively elegant female, I suppose. She's got very impressive whiskers. We had a warthog sow yesterday with equally impressive whiskers. That's probably her offspring there, as opposed to her consort. It's a young male, and I suspect he's just a little bit well, he's much too young to be her consort. I think he's just living with her because he's probably her offspring from a previous litter. And he will eventually have to go off on his own, probably when she has her next litter. And there he goes into the shade. Right, the water's not too far from here. Let's pop down there and have a look. Here are some impalas. We're just going to ease our way past. And while we're easing past the impala, the mixed feeders, let's go to the grazing dressage ponies that Byron has found.
And look what we have found on the plains. Beautiful herd of zebra. We had some wildebeest earlier, wildebeest, but they have moved off into a thicket. But these zebra are enjoying the clearings. Lovely to see them. A group of zebra have an interesting name. They're often known as a dazzle of zebra. And you can understand why with those stripes. I think it does seem as if they are dazzling. They do blend in very well when they're standing very close to each other. A lot of oxpeckers around them at the moment. All sitting, picking off the ticks. This looks like a harem. It looked like the stallion that moved off a little way earlier, and I think he's standing by himself off to the left, and then the others would be females, and then there's that zebra foal that is off to the right too. There we go. I think that's a stallion up ahead that other zebra is walking towards. Very, very beautiful. These animals, the zebra and the wildebeest, really do enjoy these clearings. It's a nice area for them to find food and water, and also what happens is it's a nice area to make sure they are safe. It's very open, it's very clear. They can see if any predators are coming from a very long way away. Often you'll find zebra and wildebeest in the same area, and they will warn each other if there are any predators. They have an interesting relationship too, because both these species of animals are grazers, which means they only eat grass. The zebra, however, generally prefer feeding on the longer grass, whereas the wildebeest prefer feeding on shorter grass. So there isn't actually a direct competition between these two species. They form a different niche. They would, so basically, sorry, I lost my words there. What happens is there's no competition, so they wouldn't compete for the same food. There's enough food around, and that's often why you find these two species in the same area. A niche means the role that they play in nature. So the zebra and the wildebeest fill a different niche. This is really lovely, beautiful, beautiful afternoon with the zebras standing out in the open. Now there are a number of theories behind why zebra have stripes. Actually, sorry, just before we do that, if we look over to the left, there's two zebras standing next to each other. Look at that. Zebra often stand in this manner, head to tail. And look at those tails swishing around, keeping the flies away from the tail area or the rump. But one of the reasons why they stand head to tail is as those tails are flicking around, they also keep the flies away from each other's faces. It's not unusual to see zebras standing like this. Look how well they blend in. As I was saying, one of the theories behind the stripes, and the one that I think is the most plausible, is the zebra have these beautiful stripes to help them get away from predators. What happens is if lions, for example, are hunting them and the zebra run away in a herd, the theory is that the stripes blend in with one another, and it is very difficult for the predators to distinguish between each individual. And again, I say this is a theory because we are not always 100% sure if we are correct with our theories. It's just something that scientists have thought of. Another theory is that it regulates body temperature. I do not think that is the case. I think that one with them blending in and making it difficult for the predator to distinguish between each individual is probably more likely. These zebras seem to be very comfortable in the clearing. James has one of my favorite birds.
Oh. Look at them fighting. Look, 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 look. Watch here. Here they come. That was fascinating. We were watching that bird for ages, and I thought maybe we'd frightened it away. Awesome. He's now just gone and sat up, but obviously there was a youngster there. I don't know if you managed to see the fact that the second one there had a lot of white on the upper wing. That signifies it was a juvenile. Now just underneath it, of course, there's an elephant. Ooh. And I was going to suggest that we go a little bit closer to that elephant, but that necessity has no longer relevant, because just behind us, 3 young bulls are coming to the pub. Hello, fellows. Here we are at Arathusa Dam, and these chaps are probably going to have a little bit of a drink and a mud wallow, or a spray of mud, and a little investigation of us to see what we want. Isn't that a wonderful sound? To many people, that sound of the fish eagle is the quintessential sound of Africa. They're looking at us, and these young bulls, I'm telling you, I think they come up here. They could easily have gone to another part of the dam. I think half of it is curiosity to see what we want. We'll go above them. I just want to give them a little bit of a head start so we don't give them a fright. And there's some bigger ones coming from the other side. So I think we're going to park ourselves here on the Arathusa Dam wall for a little while and see what transpires. I also wonder if that hippo that we saw earlier when we started the drive wasn't... Oh no, there he is. I thought it was maybe the hippo from here. These chaps are just a little bit nervous for me to park right above them. I'm just going to stop everyone and let them settle. Are you looking at us there? Maybe they'll go around the other side there and settle. And while they do that, Fiampi, if you don't just show them the hippo there in the foul mud there. Oh, Safari Dean, a wonderful question from you, and one that has an extremely complicated and lengthy answer if you really get into it. Your question is, do I think that hippos are as intelligent as elephants? Safari Dean, the simple answer to that is just every animal with its kind of life. Now, do I think, and then we have to ask the question, what is intelligence? How do we define it? Is a lion intelligent? Well, a lion is intelligent in so much that it's able to cooperatively hunt with other lions, but at the same time, if you speak to any big cat trainer, they'll tell you a lion is a quite imbecilic animal. It's unlike a leopard, for example, which will learn things much more quickly. So which one is intelligent? As far as human intelligence goes, is the intelligence to understand, I guess that human intelligence is defined as the ability to have and conceive of abstract thoughts. Then I imagine an elephant would be considered more intelligent than a hippo, because they do show this propensity to mourn their dead. They seem to have a more complicated language. So from a human point of view, yes, I suppose hippo would be considered less intelligent than elephants, but from a hippo's point of view, they're just as clever as they need to be to survive, and they've done really well. Look how deep that mud is. I'm just going to keep an eye out behind us, see if those other two don't come through here. I think they probably will. This is wonderful. And they all, of course, they don't really want to sink into the mud before they can have a drink. I don't think they'll do too much drinking here. I think you'll find that they're doing far more in the way of spraying mud on themselves and then eating the water hyacinth. You can see there. Oops. Excuse me. That was my stomach, everybody, going whoop. Probably at the sight of the elephant eating that delicious water hyacinth. So here come the other two. I wonder if they're not just a little bit nervous, still assessing the situation. Now, these guys are probably all roughly sort of late teens, if you like. They'll be living on their own because they've set up a digs, a bit like sort of young students. Men won't live on their own until they are either in a group or, you know, they won't leave their mother's home cooking unless they can live in a group like this, and it's exactly the same with elephants. They would normally still be with the herd at this age, I imagine. But these chaps are spending a bit of time on their own because they have each other for safety and for company. And this is their sort of digs, where they hang around together. That's quite a nice picture there. You can hear the hippo going in his mud. And these guys are really quite stuck in the mud there now. Hello, Laura in Alabama. You've just heard that hippopotamus calling there. You've just heard it going, and you want to know if it's able to breathe under all that mud. Laura, hippo don't breathe under the mud. They can't breathe underwater in the same way that a whale and a dolphin is unable to breathe under the water. And so what they do is they must come to the surface, and that's exactly what that thing has done there. It's come to the surface, and it's breathing. There we go. Isn't that wonderful? So they'll hide themselves, and they can definitely put their, they can hold their breath for a long time. But you'll find that they cannot breathe underwater, and they must come up. Apparently the longest that a hippo is able to stay under the water is about 8 minutes. I've never seen a hippo stay under the water for anything like that length of time. It's normally a maximum of a minute at a time. I guess unless they're really threatened. Wonderful. Isn't that nice? Oh, okay. Hang on, everybody. The last station confirm how far east along Gari Main. This is Shadow and her cub, everyone. Okay, copy. I'm going to try and make my way there. I'm at Arethusa Dam now. Okay, everybody, Shadow and her cub, our 9-year-old female leopard, great friend of ours, the princess of Djuma, if you like, is heading north towards our southern boundary with her baby. That suggests to me that she might have a kill somewhere. I think it's going to be worth our while to leave these fellows, magnificent as they are. We haven't seen her and her cub for a while, and let's see if we can't go and get a picture of her and her tiny little, almost 4-month-old cub. Right, here we go. So everyone, we're not going to drive too quickly. We're going to drive with, we're going to drive with a relative purpose, but not too fast, simply because we don't know exactly where Shadow's going to go. I thought I'd lost my lens cap. I have not. I think that's at least 8 times a day. Right, we're just going past Arathusa Lodge here, obviously. And then we're going to go relatively fast, but not breakneck speed. She is still south of the boundary, which means we won't be able to see her just yet. Ah, yeah. And there's a fellow chopping some wood for the camp. And as I've said to you before, these camps at this time of the day are actually great fun. They really kind of quieten down. And if you ever worked in a camp like this, or if you ever come and spend an extended period out at one, it's almost worth spending an afternoon in camp, especially if it's got a lovely waterhole like that in front of it, and just seeing what comes by. And often you'll see more than they do on game drive. Whoop, whoop. That was a really lovely elephant sighting. I would very happily have spent another hour or so with those fellows, but I do want to see Shadow and her little baby. Her little baby who I've named Zara. I'll let you decide why she's called Zara. These will not be official names, everyone, don't panic. I've no doubt others will give them official names, in theory only when they're a year old. We've asked them if, for the sake of our viewers, who are many and varied, and do care so very deeply about the animals out here, if we couldn't perhaps name them a little earlier this time round, but we've yet to hear back. This naming convention thing, as I discussed this morning, takes on a life of its own, and it becomes, it becomes a discussion and a political wrangling, the likes of which the US presidential and Brexit discussions could not even rival. So I'm not going to tell anybody what I've named them. I'll be in big trouble. I'll be excommunicated from the guiding fraternity. That would be terrible, wouldn't it, VM?
Extradited.
Yes. Extricated. Not extricated. Excommunicated.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Are they going to change your mistake then?
Exactly. Right, here is the Arathusa International Airstrip. There are some impalas. We will have a quick look at them as we go round. Now, in case you're wondering where Byron is, he's on Cheetah Plains, but apparently it's impossible to talk to him at the moment. I suspect quite strongly because his earpiece has pulled out of where it's supposed to be, unless he's trying to climb a tree. But I don't think he's trying to do that. He's quite a beefy fellow, is our Byron. Let's have a quick look at these impalas who have come out early onto the open area to try and avoid being devoured by something. And I suppose it's also because there's grass left. If you look here at the airstrip, for some reason this particular piece has been left free of eating, and there's actually some green grass left, which I find very interesting and very strange at the same time. Right, let's carry on. All right, Byron can hear Kirsten McLennan-Smith now. Let's go across to him, get an update. I will keep you posted on Shadow.
So we've been moving around these clearings on Cheetah Plains and we haven't had any luck just yet. I know James had some ostriches around here today, or this morning at least, and we haven't seen anything. It's a little bit windy, so I think what's possibly happened is a lot of animals just moved off into the thicket. They don't really like to be out in the wind, and I think that's possibly what has happened. But a lot of elephant tracks all over the road here where we are at the moment, and fresh signs that they were here. Branches that have been broken off and fresh dung. So maybe we find some elephant shortly. Let's have a look. See a lot of branches all over the place. See another big branch in front of us. So Emma from the UK is coming out to South Africa soon, and she's heading to Kruger National Park. Emma would like to know what my favorite road is in Kruger National Park, or area to drive around. Emma, I haven't been to Kruger National Park, or the park itself, for quite some time. I was there about 2 years ago. I'm trying to think. The area around Skakuza, which is one of the camps in Kruger, is I think one of the nicest areas. From Skakuza and further south, Crocodile Bridge, that area. But Skakuza for me is very, very nice. There's some beautiful water holes, and the river, look at all the damage elephants have done here, a lot of the branches that have been broken. But what this is probably from is because the tree is dead. This marula tree is dead, and it would have been caused by elephant. And these branches have been broken off or fallen off. This tree is rotting at the moment. Such a shame, but it does happen. But it creates a micro-habitat for a lot of other animals, a lot of other insects. So Emma, getting back to your question, best place in Kruger or area in Kruger, as I said, I really like Skakuza area, beautiful river, the Sabi River, yes, the Sabi River that runs through past Kruger, past Skakuza, and there's generally a lot of wildlife. I've been very fortunate. I've seen leopard in that area, I've seen lion, I've seen cheetah, but again, you can never guarantee what you're going to see. It all depends on the time of year, and it depends how patient you are and what you can find. Wondering where all those elephant moved off to, but they could have moved through the area much earlier today. And we've all seen how quickly elephant can cover or move through an area and disappear very, very quickly if they want to. Constantly moving, just feeding. Then what they'll do is they'll move from one waterhole to another. Especially in these dry seasons or these dry conditions, they do need to drink quite a lot of water, so they will know exactly where the water holes are in the area, and they'll move from one water hole to another. Love driving through these combretum thickets. You've got these beautiful colors. Just look at the coloration that we can see, this yellow and brown and green. Often hear the rustling of the leaves while we're driving through in the wind at the moment. It's got this beautiful sound. Let's see if that little bird, which I just saw, will stay there. Don't move. He's still there. Let's see if Brian can get him. You see him through there, Brian? Just behind those trees. That is an emerald spotted wood dove. Look carefully there. He's just hiding through there. And if you look closely, just on the back of the wing, you can see if the light hits it, especially, you get this beautiful emerald coloration on the wing. Really, really beautiful little bird. But he seems to be hiding from us there. So while we carry on, I'm going to try to see if I can't find those elephants somewhere. While I do that, cross over to James for an update and see what he's up to. I hope he's not climbing any trees.
Look at that, everybody. There's an elephant right here. I don't know what's happening with Shadow. I can't get hold of anybody on the radio, but this young bull is starting being... He's having great fun here. He's so close to us. Wonderful bull here. He's probably about 10 years old, and he was only about 3 feet from us. Beautiful. All right, let's go a little bit forward. I'm just going to ask this fellow in front of us here. I'm trying to understand what's going on with the leopard. She should be just off here. Elephants everywhere here. Beautiful herd. Just going to ask this chap here. How long in show me are Okay, hold on everybody. She's crossed over into Weirtela. We're just going to try and get past here. Okay, enkom. All right, everyone, apparently she has crossed over. Let's go back to Byron, find out what he's doing, and I will keep you posted.
That's exciting news. James is racing to see if he can get a glimpse of Shadow, the leopard. I hope he does. We are still wandering through cheetah plains. I've been looking for some elephant, and there's signs of them everywhere, but they don't seem to be sticking their heads out this afternoon. Well, not just yet, but as I always say, it's too soon to panic. While we are driving, yesterday I was asked an interesting question about what animals fly, and I wasn't too sure about the question, but giving it more thought, I think what the question was about is what is the largest mammal that can fly? So the only mammal that can fly is a bat, and fly properly, and those are bats. So that is definitely, if I understood that question correctly, a mammal that can fly is a bat. And then this morning, we had a few questions about the elephant and their tusks. And I did mention that they do have nerve endings that run through the tusk, but it's basically one nerve which runs straight through the tusk, just like our teeth. So if a tusk is broken, it can harm the elephant, and you can sometimes get an infection in the tusk. But generally, they do manage to heal quite quickly. But the tusk is just like our teeth. So you can imagine a big tusk breaking off. It can cause quite a bit of pain for the elephant, but they do not grow back. So once that tusk has broken off or snapped off, they don't grow back. So Debbie from New Jersey has asked, what is my favorite thing that's ever happened to me in the bush? Debbie, that's a tough question. Sure. I think my favorite thing that's ever happened to me in the bush was coming to work in the bush, to be honest. And I'll tell you why, is because I love everything about it. I really enjoy the wildlife and being out here and seeing different things constantly on a daily basis. It's always different. But I also enjoy interacting with the people. I enjoy taking people on game drives and showing them around and showing them what this country has to offer, or not just this country, but Africa in general. It's really one of my passions to be able to pass on the knowledge and interpret the bush to the guests so that they can understand it a bit better. I think in terms of sightings though, I mentioned it the other day, someone asked a similar question, but I saw a leopard make an impala kill right in front of us. It happened at, everything. We stopped the vehicle, she stalked, she walked behind the vehicle, she walked around and she used the thicket line, and moved into position to stalk some impala, and she snuck up right in towards them, very, very close, and then she sprung and caught an impala right in front of us. It was incredible. As she did, she dragged it off towards a tree, started feeding, and the next thing, she got up, moved off, and she went and called about 1 kilometer down the road. She called, gave a little low, very low call, which is a contact call. A lot of big cats do. Sounds like a oh, oh, oh. And she called, and the next thing, 3 cubs came out. And these little cubs came out towards her, and that was incredible in its own. And she took them to the kill that she had just made, and the 3 cubs got to feed while she lay one side and kept watch. And that is definitely, I think, one of my favorite sightings I've ever had. Just because, for one, it's amazing to see a kill. It doesn't just happen. You've got to really, really have patience and try and wait in an area and spend a lot of time with the predator to see them actually hunt and kill. And the other thing is, a leopard with cubs is not something you see often. So that whole scene was just really wonderful.